and it's pretty hard. She is residing at our house in River Falls, and beautiful place. She loves it there. They love her, and like I said, this is going to be a rambling a little bit, because this is my first time doing this. Outside of the panel we did last weekend, and that was pretty well structured. Dee loves it there. Like I said, she is comfortable there. I wasn't sure about this. That was one of the most difficult decisions I have ever had to make in my life, was to relinquish the responsibility of taking care of this lady. For those who don't know me, this lady is my life. Simple as that. I do not like living alone. That's just part of the game. Like I said, help me a little bit here, Paul. You had asked me about something concerning.
You talked at my recap today about not realizing some issues you've got.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
It takes a little bit. When Dee started developing all of these conditions, I became her primary caregiver. And I did that for easily 5 years as she was falling deeper and deeper into this scenario. And my focus was totally and absolutely on her, period. I did not pay attention to me, but I'm guessing, and from what I understand, that's not necessarily uncommon. Caregivers are always the first to go, or nearly. I wasn't paying attention. I had family and friends who kept saying, "We're worried about you." And I would shrug it off and trudge forward. And as we got closer to Dee basically starting to shut down, by that I mean she had developed bladder incontinence first, which is one of the first stages, and then it progressed into the next stage, which is disastrous if you're by yourself at home. And again, people kept saying, you need to take care of her, but you also need to take care of yourself. Well, I had in 2022, I had a wellness meeting with my physician, and during that meeting, he said, "I need you to talk to this cardiac specialist." And I was taken aback by that. It's like, okay, but what's going on? He said, "I think you're a pretty good candidate for heart surgery." Didn't dawn on me, because I've never had a heart attack. I've never had symptoms associated with a heart attack. I had shortness of breath, that was it. And I associated that with being a large person, out of shape. And so we proceeded with a battery of tests and everything, and it's basically, I got Dee into our house the 22nd of November, and the 5th of December, I'm on the table for a double bypass to replace both anterior descending arteries on my heart that had been calcified, top to bottom. So I was essentially, my heart was essentially starving to death. And my time on this earth was limited at that point. So UUSRF a surgical team. I'm back and I'm pushing it hard at this point. So, I guess what I'm saying is self-help, you have to take care of yourself. You know, if you're taking care of somebody who is in Alzheimer's or in dementia, it is a devastating disease. It is also a devastatingly tough disease for you to take care of. You need to rely on other people. You need to realize that it's okay to ask for help. Because there are some of us who are kind of just stubborn enough to not. And that's the nature of the beast. But Amy Luther, who is with ABRC in Pierce County, got me involved with comforts of home for caregivers to come into our house 6 to 8 hours a day and take care of my wife. They help with housework. And it allowed me to get out into the community more, come in town and drink coffee. You know, have a cup of coffee and have a piece of pie or whatever. Just relax and let my brain drain, if you will. And then she got me started with, I don't know which group was first, the Memory Cafe in Prescott, or the Memory Cafe in Spring Valley.
Prescott. You went to Prescott first.
Was it, okay. How'd you know that?
Memory.
And was just getting started with that. And I was a bit reticent at first because, again, we tend to want to be self-reliant and take care of this ourselves. But you get to the point where you have to talk to somebody. You've got to let this stuff go. And this became my outlet. And I think I made 1 or 2 meetings, and that was about it, and COVID hit, and we're locked in. And so Dee and I are basically sequestered in our house for 1.5 to 2 years. So I quickly learned that I can figure out how to work a computer, and we can Zoom, which is interesting. And so I worked with these groups for a couple of years, and I discovered that it really is not that difficult to let yourself open up. Once you realize that there are people out there who are willing to listen and willing to help you. And it's also important to occasionally let your head leak a little bit. By way of weeping of tears. And I've always said this, I'm firmly in touch with my female side, always have been. I get very emotional at times. And so it became more and more easy to talk with these great folks. And then we, like I said, we got out of COVID, and I have been a firm believer in these groups from that day forward. They're great. That's all I can say is Memory Cafe is really, really great. It's an opportunity to get together and drink coffee, eat a few snacks, or not, but drink coffee, or tea sometimes, and just talk. Nothing specific, but we always have this gentleman right here that has a great sense of poetry. I never totally liked poetry, but Bob has kind of brought out my inner desire for some poetry. So, not sure how much further I can go beyond that.
That's perfect.
Again, I have enjoyed meeting everybody here as much as I have, and One other thing I wanted to mention is I have slowly learned with my wife, as she has withdrawn deeper and deeper and deeper into this evil disease, I've slowly learned to figure out how to reach in and pull out. The short-term memories are gone. She has no short-term memory at all, which in many situations is probably a really good thing. But her long-term is still there. She remembers family. She remembers memories from 60 years ago. And I'm slowly discovering ways to reach in and pull out little memories that I can see bring happiness to her face. I can see it in her eyes. And again, after you've been with somebody for 60 years, we know everything about each other. It's so easy to know which, buttons to push years ago to get what results you needed. But sometimes the memories are easy now, not easy, but I know where to reach and how to get those memories out. The one thing that I basically learned is you can't ask questions of these people because it just further frustrates them. They can't form words. They can't get the words out. They can't form sentences. And early on, I could see the frustration in my wife plainly. Now it's just, she's not totally nonverbal. She will speak occasionally, but you just have to go with that conversation, whatever it is. And I will relate one little incident, and I gotta quit because it gets pretty emotional after that. My wife taught third grade for 18 years. Her kids absolutely adored her. And she adored her kids. We have no children. Those were our kids. Those 25 to 30 kids every year were our kids. Mine as well. I totally enjoyed them. And every year, this time of the year, she would start thinking about and talking about Thanksgiving and what people did for Thanksgiving, the traditions they had. And she said, we have one tradition here where I make bread with my children. And she would make bread with her students in her classroom. And her husband would come in after the bread had risen, take it home, bake 5, 6 loaves of it, let it cool, and get it back to school before school was out. And they would make butter while I was baking the bread, and with a quart jar and whole milk or whole wheat, heavy cream. And so I sat one day and I was thinking about this, and I told Dee, I said, I remember a certain situation where we were making bread. And her head came up a little bit. The eyes were a little further open. And I said, you would make bread with your students. And they had a blast. And I see this very imperceptible nodding. And I said, then your husband would take the bread, bake it, and you would make butter. Yes, we did. It's those moments that I treasure from this point forward every day. I take them home with me, and they stay buried right in here until I can talk about them and bring them out and share the same thing with you guys. So that's just one. There are lots more now as I'm getting along in this journey. The other thing that I've discovered is I learned how to give myself permission to take off for a couple of weeks. Knowing she's in good hands, and knowing that they've got my cell phone number. You know, but I still take off to see my family. We came up here 30 years ago from Central Illinois. And so I have family down there. She has her brother and family live in, or her brother is deceased, but that David's family they live in Stillwater, Woodbury, and Minneapolis. So we have some family up here. So yeah, I take off and occasionally enjoy myself. Not that I'm not enjoying myself now, but I thank you very much for putting up with me and listening. Takes me a while to get started, but once I get started, it's kind of like the boiling pot just rolls over.
Thank you, Jerry. I asked Jerry to come, not knowing what he would do or what I would ask him to do, so he didn't have any setup at all.
He didn't have no idea what he was going to do either, so.
But you did very well.
Yes.
For me, Jerry's ability to speak from his heart with real life experience is far more valuable than, I went to caregiver conferences for years when Frank was alive. I never got anything comparable, Jerry, to what you tell us. And yeah, I knew the data of caregivers often diapers. It wasn't the same as the way you tell the stories that share from the heart, so thank you.
When a physician or a surgical team tells you after the surgery that they didn't want to tell you how close you were, they didn't want to talk about it for fear that I would panic. But I was within days, if not sometimes hours, of having a fatal heart attack. And so when somebody tells you that and it does not affect you deeply, you're not paying attention.
True. All right, I'm not sure. Thank you again. I'm not sure what else we have in slides besides announcements, so let's see what's up there. Okay. So, we have a couple of minutes. Does anyone have any questions or comments for anybody that's been out here talking today? Anna?
It made me think of my husband and how our journey went. And it's just something that's really interesting, I think, and valuable.
Yes.
And I have come myself a long ways finding myself and being pleased with what I found and finding a new place for my life.
Anna, can I explain who your husband was for you with the